Hark, it's an 87th Precinct podcast bonus episode. This is the bonus episode for the book Lightning, book number 37 in the 87th Precinct series, which is a very dark and quite distressing tale. So hopefully once we get stuck into this episode, we can look at something nice about 1984 instead. I'm sure we can find something.
The sunsets.
Oh, very nice.
I'm sure there was some nice ones.
Well, there may well have been.
Well,
we're actually recording this on the summer solstice here, and I believe there were some nice sunsets if you're the sort of person who wants to get up at 4:43 in the morning and go and look at them. I was not.
Nor was I.
But what we'll do is our usual roundup of the original book covers, and to start us off, I'm going to ask Morgan to describe the US hardback edition, if you would, Morgan.
Okay, so if I'm looking at the right one, we've got a mainly black cover. Just the word lightning in bold letters at the top with the eyes extended down into lightning bolts. A bit like the sort of, it looks a bit like it might be the logo of some kind of heavy metal band, with the end of the lightning bolts going bright red, where they meet in the middle. And then Ed McBain, 87th Precinct novel in between the lightning bolts there.
Quite stark, isn't it?
It's quite stark. It's quite dramatic.
Sharp and pointy.
Yeah, it could definitely be album cover material, that, couldn't it?
It could, couldn't it?
It's probably one of the more effective ones of recent years. I don't know.
Are those like flags, do you think?
What do you mean,
flags? The red things at the end.
Just think they're just blood-covered lightning strikes.
Blood-covered lightning strikes.
Those blood-covered lightning strikes we see so often.
Yeah, that's how lightning works.
I just wonder whether those were like track flags.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, yeah.
It never even occurred to me, but
might be a bit of a stretch, but it would certainly make sense concept-wise anyway. Well, perhaps you could describe the next one down for us, Steve-O, which is the US paperback edition.
It's okay, this one. It's got the word lightning on an angle diagonally across the page. Kind of like disappearing slightly to a vanishing point, and then a big moon with a lightning strike that is hitting the top of a lamppost with the, can't quite see, is that a figure hanging or a figure in the distance? Figure in the distance.
A shadowy figure lurking, isn't he?
Yes, that's quite interesting, that one.
It's quite fun, isn't it? It looks quite pulpy.
Yeah.
Quite like the next one. The next one looks a bit weird.
Oh, go on then, explain the next one. This will be the UK hardback.
It's got like a runner, what I would say is a runner with a big hairdo and a tree in the distance and some lightning striking through. I think these covers show that it's more thrillery, this book, than most of them, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think the title and the covers reflect that.
Yeah, I think the problem is when you have a book titles like Ice and Lightning, there's always one obvious thing that comes to mind in terms of images you associate with stuff. And I don't know that every single graphic designer ever thinks past, and some graphic designers are amazing and some book cover designs are absolutely amazing. But occasionally you get one or two where it's like, lightning, okay, what I'll do there is I'll show some lightning.
Yeah.
See, at least the person who did that one had the runner on, didn't they? So they've obviously gone for an eerie runner image.
But on that UK hardback one with the runner image, it's got like the tree silhouetted in the background. And so the branches of the lightning are supposed to look a little bit like the branches of the tree.
Yeah.
But it does look more like a British folk horror story.
It does, yeah.
It does a bit, yeah. Unlike the other ones, it doesn't mention that it's an 87 Precinct novel as well. So it could be a standalone folk horror tale from Ed McBain, I guess, couldn't it?
Yeah, the sort of thing the BBC would have done an adaptation of in 1974. But if we move on to the...
John Lightning in Lightning, BBC 2, Saturday night, 9:00.
Perfect time slot. But yeah, if we move on to the UK paperback edition, and I suspect we've all got this one. I'd like to be proven wrong.
Well, yeah, I have actually. How did you know?
Yeah, me too.
I've got some very exciting versions coming up, actually.
Yeah, I've got a couple.
I'll describe this cover quickly here. This is another gold stripe McBain Pan edition, a new 87th Precinct. It's got a stormy sky and a lightning strike hitting what looks like a machete, is that? Or a Bowie knife?
I would have assumed it was meant to be a switchblade, but it isn't, is it?
No, it's like a hunting knife, that, isn't it?
It's definitely a hunting knife. They obviously didn't bother to source the correct kind of knife.
But lightning isn't blue, is it? What's that about?
It's
like
blue.
Electricity, kind of. Well, I suppose lightning is, but I don't know, like gas or something.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's a fairly simple image, really, but it's, like I say, the graphic designers didn't think massively past the notion of lightning on this one.
No.
I think my favourite is that first one that looks like an album cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the most striking, definitely.
Are we having a quick huff while we're...
Oh, he's straight in there.
Yeah, it's... Yeah, it's okay, that, yeah.
Well, I'll check mine. Oh no, that's perfect. Just right. That's how I like them.
Is it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got fairly limited odour, but...
Let's give this a go then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite nice. Quite a sweet sweet kind of hint to it. Not too much mustiness, so that was good.
No, that's all right then.
Like a boiled sweet.
Yeah.
No, I was just flicking through, and one thing we didn't mention in the book is like quite a liberal use of his little inserts, isn't there?
Oh yeah, that's true. There's a
in
whole
this
chapter, a whole chapter full of calendars where Annie Rawls going through making the connection between the dates where the attacks have happened.
Yeah, that's quite good because it lets us sort of join in, doesn't it, and try and figure out the pattern while she is. That was pretty good.
Yeah, well, another thing we didn't really mention is that part of that is to do with the rise of computer use in the police as well, because there's having to get someone to do printouts and things like that, which is quite a new thing in the books.
The bloke who runs the computer machine's got a ridiculous name that I can't quite remember what it was, but Bertie Bowles or something.
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
it causes a certain amount of amusement in the course of the book, doesn't it?
And we another silly name we didn't get round to in the main episode. So homicide detectives turn up, one of whom's called Manson and one of whom's called Matson.
Yeah.
In the stupid names for homicide detective theme that carries on. Manson and Matson.
And Binky Bowles.
Yeah.
Binky, is he the computer operator?
Yeah.
Binky, yeah.
Those are our covers, the original covers as well. Let's get into 1984, because as any listeners to this podcast will know, that we are of a certain age, and we are now sort of moving into the stuff that we will remember first time round almost, and stuff that was very influential on us growing up, or stuff that was around when we were growing up and was certainly very noticeable. So where shall we start? Oh, let's start with the US and the UK charts. So the copyright date on the book, which is what I usually use, it was the 31st of August, 1984. And we have got a UK and a US top 10. I'm going to run down the UK chart top 10.
Is this singles or...
Singles, yeah. Do you want to have a quick guess?
Well, wasn't 1984 like the absolute peak of Duran Duran?
It may well have been. It certainly wasn't this week.
Oh, God. I thought they were just permanently in the charts then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be about the time when, the New Romantics, Duran Duran and Spandau would be sort of about to tail off, I think, for the first time at least. But, I think. And, a Wham still there.
Bros started, or was that 1985?
No, we're a few years away from Bros yet.
Yeah. Well, Wham aren't there, but someone Wham related is there, certainly.
It's not Andrew Ridgeley.
In the UK. No, it's not.
Therefore,
work it out.
John Wham, is he there with his debut album?
Pepsi and Shirley?
Not Pepsi and Shirley, sadly, either. I prefer Pepsi and Shirley out of Wham adjacent people.
So, George Michael starting his solo career, I assume.
1984 was Purple Rain as well, wasn't it? I've just remembered that.
It certainly was.
Keep that in mind. So the UK charts, number 1, Careless Whisper by George Michael. Number 2 is the worst Stevie Wonder single.
Oh, I just called to say I love you.
Thanks, Morgan. That's nice. I've known that song for ages because my parents had the soundtrack album to the film The Woman in Red that had that on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Its main feature that I like about it is the way it ends with the da rhythm at the end.
Oh,
That's just that every song should end to sort of stop and then go da da da.
Cha cha cha.
But anyway, cha 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 indeed. Number 3, oh God, Agadoo by Black Lace.
Oh.
Yeah, see, we'd have been attending children's parties with that playing, like fresh out the charts, wouldn't we?
Very much so.
Or
Yeah.
going on holidays to holiday camps where they'd be playing that in the kids' discos and things. Yeah, it's a novelty record, certainly.
Really.
I'm not going to say anything more about novelty records. I'll leave that for another podcast. Number 4 is Like to Get to Know You Well by Howard Jones.
Yeah.
Number 5 is Self-Control by Laura Branigan.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know anything about that. What sort of thing is it?
It's sort of like slightly electro kind of pop rock. And I guess her biggest hit was Gloria. But it's like kind of not, you wouldn't call it synth pop, but it's kind of got like heavy keyboards. It's all right as a 1984 pop single goes.
Okay, well, it was beating Passengers by Elton John, which is number 6.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a single of his, I remember, but...
It's a bit of an odd one. I seem to recall Passengers. I'm not going to attempt a rendition of it now, but yeah, give it a listen. It's not typical of Elton John's output, really.
Okay. Well, number 7 is Dr. Beat by Miami Sound Machine.
Nice.
Number 8 is Whatever I Do, Wherever I Go by Hazel Dean. Number 9 is Local Lads Frankie Goes to Hollywood with Two Tribes.
Absolutely.
Which obviously was quite a controversial record when it was released. It is actually one I remember from being a kid and having no idea what the meaning of it was at all, but it being one that people were singing and talking about in the playground.
Is that the one with the video that's got people in Reagan and Khrushchev masks wrestling or something?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 10 is Stuck on You by Trevor Walters. Doesn't ring a bell with me.
Hasn't stuck on me, no.
Poor old Trev. The US charts is quite a lot of big hits in here. Certainly 4 or 5 of them anyway. Number 1 is What's Love Got to Do With It by Tina Turner.
Oof.
Number 2, Missing You by John Waite. Don't know that one.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely will. Like proper kind of soft rock radio kind of classic.
Yeah, I suspect there's a lot of these that I say I don't know, but it's just that I don't know the name and have never.
Yeah, it's one that will have been on the radio in the background for all of our lives. So, yeah.
Number 3 is Stuck on You by Lionel Richie.
Oh God.
Hang on.
You stuck
but
on
number
you.
10 in the UK. Number 10 in the UK is Stuck on You by Trevor Walters. Number 3 in the US is Stuck on You by Lionel Richie. There's a mystery here that I'm not going to solve.
No.
But number 4 is Ghostbusters by Ray Parker Jr.
Oh, now we're talking.
Yeah, we definitely are. And Steve-O mentioned him before, but number 5 is a Prince single, and it's When Doves Cry.
Absolutely.
Number 6 is She Bop by Cyndi Lauper.
Oh yeah.
One of the lesser played ones over the years. Number 7, Sunglasses at Night by Corey Hart.
Oh yeah.
I don't know anything about that, but it sounds brilliant.
Yeah, I think that there was I don't remember it from the time, but there was either a remix or a cover of it that charted again about 15 years ago and got quite a lot of airplay. So I know it vaguely from that. Yeah, it's quite a bit of a moody kind of electro thing.
Number 8 is Let's Go Crazy by Prince and the Revolution.
Tremendous.
Not Let's Go Crazy, as I was about to say, which sounds like some sort of Christian rock song.
Yeah, I bet he was in the charts non-stop in
Yeah,
1984.
it's a good era for him, definitely.
Yeah. Number 9 is If This Is It by Huey Lewis and the News.
Oh, classic 80s.
And number 10 is If Ever You're in My Arms Again by Peebo Bryson.
Oh, yeah, Peebo.
Peebo.
Good old Peebo.
Peebo is that?
Peabo.
Peebo, yeah.
That's a trick.
If you were starting out now, you wouldn't.
No.
You'd probably change that.
Probably. So anyway, that's what music.
Peebo Bryson as well. You used to have a policeman who used to come around your school to do various things. Ours was called PC Bryce. So that's quite similar.
Well, there you go. That
was probably in 1984.
Say no to strangers.
Yeah, you used to have a radio-controlled police car that used to pretend was real. He used to leave the room, but then you could just see him behind like a little
What?
divider with the handset.
Sounds incredible.
So he'd be like, "Oh, it's magic." He'd be like, "No, PC Bryce is over there with the hand control."
Yeah. But to this day, you've never got into a radio-controlled car with a stranger, have you?
I haven't, no.
So there you go. See, it worked. Right, that's music. That's music taken care of. I've been quite looking forward to getting onto films because I reckon this is the first time I've been doing this list of like the 10 biggest grossing films that I reckon I've seen every single one of them.
Oh, yeah.
And I bet you two have as well.
Yeah, there's some big ones.
Well, it was funny because 1983 we really struggled, didn't we? And 1984, all of a sudden, like you
Hit
say,
after hit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think was the biggest film though of 1984?
Temple of Doom.
Pretty big, not the biggest.
Not Ghostbusters?
Pretty big, not the biggest.
Give us a clue.
I won't. I'll just tell you what it is. It's Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh, God, yeah, of course.
I didn't realise it was quite that big, but then I suppose I was only thinking about films like Ghostbusters because I was a kid. I definitely didn't see Beverly Hills Cop in 1984, let's put it that way. So Beverly Hills Cop number 1, Ghostbusters number 2, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom number 3, number 4, Gremlins.
Ooh.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Which is brilliant. Number 5, The Karate Kid.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Number 6, now hold on to your hats, everyone. Hold on to your Maya style wigs. It's Police Academy.
Oh. Now, if there wasn't a spiritual successor to the Carry On films, then I'm not Commissioner, whatever he was called.
I think Police Academy films are in a way the middle ground between the Carry On films and the 87th Precinct.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the spectrum.
Be funny in future entries we do in where Ed McBain's ranting about the police academy. You see, there's a bit of a senile head figure in the police academy, isn't there?
Like Captain Frick.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little known fact that Ed McBain sued Steve Guttenberg.
Oh, yeah. You see strongly in the... What year was Short Circuit?
A couple of years after that, in 86 or something like that.
85, 86, yeah.
Yeah.
And amazing.
Not far away, anyway.
Oh, great. I hope he's got a book to read that year.
After Police Academy, number 7 was Footloose. That's Tragic Tale of Loose Feet.
I've never seen that film.
Oh, right. So you've not got the full setting. I've seen it, but I can't remember it.
Kevin Bacon's Angry Dancing.
He does like to run up things.
I think I've seen bits of it, but...
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Number 8, Romancing the Stone.
Oh, yeah.
Number 9, Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock.
Is that a good one or a terrible one?
Well, I seem to remember it being good, but I think technically it's supposed to be a bad one if you follow the system.
The odd numbered ones are the bad ones, aren't they?
Well, yeah, Star Trek 3. And number 10 is Splash.
Oh, yeah.
For all your mermaid film needs. But there's so many amazing films out in 1984. Most of those are pretty good films to some extent, or certainly the ones with big, long-lasting legacies. And I just quickly had a look through some other ones that just leapt out at me from the list of things that came out in 1984, such as Terminator for a kick-off.
Crikey. And that isn't even in the top 10.
No, I think it had quite a sort of slow start. I think it was more of a legacy film, really.
Yeah, Terminator 2 was like...
Oh, it was
that was
really well at the box office, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. We've got Terminator. We've got This Is Spinal Tap.
Oh, yes.
We've got not so great Supergirl.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a strange thing.
I'll tell you one that was released this year that I was looking at earlier. Dune.
Yes, that's on the list.
Yeah. Both a great film and an absolutely terrible film.
Yes, it's a very strange bit of book adaptation. There's a new version of Dune coming out before too long, which I'm sure might be interesting. Well, I'll quickly run through these as well. Top Secret, which is a very funny film.
Oh, it's great, yeah.
Repo Man, Toxic Avenger.
Oh, God.
Amadeus, which I've watched about 3 or 4 times in my life, and every time I end up sort of watching it and going, I hate this, why am I still watching it? And then end up watching it all the way through.
Yeah, it's a pretty weird film, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very weird. What else have we got? Purple Rain. So there's Prince's star very much in the ascendancy. And everyone's favourite, of course, which is Electric Dreams, the story of a love triangle between a man, a woman and a computer. Because it was 1984 and computers existed.
All gold.
Well, let's move on to some TV, because I had to stop writing down a list of things that came out in 1984 that I wanted to talk about, because, as I've suggested before, basically it was everything that I've grown up with, that we've grown up with. So I've picked a selection of UK TV things for us. So one thing that, strangely enough, I think, Steve-O, when last we met, you managed to mention this, Heartbeat.
Oh, right, yeah.
Marvelous.
That started in 1984.
It did, yeah.
Wow, that was great.
Would you like to describe what Heartbeat was?
It was a children's television programme about art, hence Heart. And it was presented by Tony Hart, who was very good at art. But Tony Hart was quite I don't know, like as a child, you would have not been able to put an age on him within about plus or minus 25 years, I don't think.
I think you're probably right.
That's very true, yeah. The big sort of sweeping mane of white hair, didn't he?
Yeah, so you would have thought he was like totally and utterly ancient, but he probably wasn't, I don't know.
No. He'd been around a long time by this point, and he was on that programme for a long time afterwards.
But he was very good, and you could send in your artwork, and you'd put him up on the wall, the gallery, and he might get a call out, shout out from Tony if you liked your piece. I think I sent stuff in and never saw it, so you know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did too. But
and then he had some plasticine little cartoon fellas, didn't he, called Morph?
Yeah.
Morph and Chaz.
Who were like stop animation little fellas doing little segments in his program, and he was great, really.
Yeah,
and it had a brilliant theme tune.
It did. We won't sing it because it wouldn't do it justice.
No, but check it out. It's great.
I'll share the video on our Twitter feed for people who'll just be baffled if they haven't listened to this episode why we're suddenly sharing it. Quickly run down some of these other ones. The Box of Delights is an absolutely brilliant adaptation of a children's book that was on over Christmas of 1984.
Terrifying.
Yeah, very weird and
terrifying.
Spellbinding.
Dark and strange and fantastical. Yeah. One of my earliest TV memories is watching The Box of Delights.
Tremendous.
Thomas the Tank Engine starts.
Oh, my God. Brilliant.
That was the best reaction.
And was Ringo Starr narrating it from the outset?
He was, right from the outset. Ringo Starr was the voice of Thomas the Tank Engine.
Fantastic.
There was a cartoon called The Family Ness.
Oh God. Yeah. You could get your thistle whistle out and summon Nessie, couldn't you?
Yeah, or a variety of different Nessie family members.
Yeah, that was good.
Happiness and grumpiness and things like that, weren't they? I'm sure.
Yeah.
was like Jimbo the Jet Set. I bet that was 1984 as well.
I didn't spot it. I think that might be a couple of years later, but same sort of animation technique. But on the subject of things that are actually good, there's The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes.
All right, yep, great.
Which, of course, is the Jeremy Brett series that begins in 1984.
Dum, 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 dum. Yep.
Very nice. The more or less definitive versions of the stories on TV. And The Bill, which we've talked about before on this programme, starts in 1984 as quite a gritty procedural thing and later descends into a bit more soapy sort of stuff, but it's very good.
Yep.
And let's jump to America because, I think the majority of our listeners are American, so they'll be completely baffled by almost 90% of what we're talking about, really.
Yeah, I'm not sure Tony Hart made much impression on the American.
Yeah. Well, I've got something special here that I want to present to you guys here, apart from other things. So we've got Airwolf starts in 1984.
Talking about great theme tunes. Bloody hell, that's up there.
Yeah, it's an excellent theme tune. We also have Murder, She Wrote, started in 1984.
Oh, right, okay.
All right.
I would have thought that was earlier than that, but then...
Yeah, it's the type of thing that looks a bit older than perhaps it, yeah.
Yeah. You have Who's the Boss, which is a sitcom about a woman being the boss. Imagine that.
Bloody hell.
You've got Miami Vice, which starts for all your white-suited fast car weirdness. Yeah. Muppet Babies.
Oh, blimey.
A permanent fixture on early Saturday morning telly, wasn't it? 7:30 maybe, if you were up early.
Yeah,
you had to watch it with the volume turned down, fear of waking anybody else up.
Quite a good theme tune for Muppet Babies as well.
Yeah.
Although if you think about the concept, it's too much.
Why? Why?
Well, it suggests that there's some sort of Muppet breeding program that requires these nurseries, and it's...
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
See, yeah, never really thought about that. But...
element of Muppet.
Yeah. Dystopian Fozzy bear.
Yeah. And whilst I would love to just dedicate the rest of this episode to talking about The Transformers, which begins on syndication in America and is the best cartoon ever for the best toy line ever, I'll leave that to one side because I want to mention a thing called Dreams. And I wonder if any of our American listeners have ever heard of Dreams. Now, this was a sitcom that aired on CBS in October 1984. And I was only saying 1 month, October 1984, because as far as I can tell, it was 12 episodes were made and only 5 were ever shown, which is always the sign of a good show.
Yeah.
And the basic description I could find is that it follows the story of a fictional rock band that tries to get a recording contract.
That sounds great.
Is the band called Dreams, is it?
I assume so.
Oh, God.
And I could barely find any information about this. Episode 1, the précis for episode 1 is an old boyfriend of Lisa's shows up and challenges Gino to a weightlifting competition.
Oh, my God.
Gino becomes obsessed with the challenge, risking a great opportunity for the band.
Sounds terrific.
So they were about to get a recording contract, but one of the band members got distracted by a weightlifting competition.
Yeah. It just sounds brilliant, doesn't it?
Really does.
Oh, I wish I could. I'll have to see if I can find some episodes of that. It sounds so absolutely awful, and I do love things that they set around rock bands and things because it's always dreadful and brilliant. I did find something for Australia though, and I noted this down because I think you'll be interested in this, Steve-O.
Yeah.
If I tell you the name of this mini-series, this drama mini-series, perhaps you could tell me what it's about, even if you don't know the show itself. It's called Bodyline.
Bodyline. Oh, well, is that cricket related?
It is.
Ah, right. Okay, yeah. So a mini-series about the Bodyline test series in Australia, the Ashes.
Yeah.
Brought about at the advent of short-pitched bowling, aimed to stop Don Bradman from scoring endless amounts of runs.
Yeah. 1930s, was it?
Yeah, I think so. 30. Oh, now you're asking 32, something like that. Yeah.
So that was in Australia in 1984 with Hugo Weaving playing Douglas Jardine and Gary Sweet as Don Bradman.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Yeah, so it had a big impact on the future of cricket henceforth.
Well, let's move on to our picks for 1984 of an album and a movie. So, Morgan, do you want to start?
Yeah, can do. Albums wise, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I like definitely came out in '84. Lots of quite underground stuff. But for my selection this episode, I wanted to pick "Too Tough to Die" by the Ramones.
All right.
Just because I would say, although I guess the classic sort of first three albums of sort of long past by this point, "Too Tough to Die" was kind of, I'd say, the last really great Ramones album. All the ones after that have their moments, but it's kind of like it was their last sort of real throw of the dice to try and kind of have a hit record, I think. And they kind of throw in everything throw everything they've got at it, really. So it's got like great pop bits, great like harder punk edged stuff, some more kind of hard rock stuff, a new drummer which kind of gives them a bit more kind of energy. And it's just cracking, really. It's a very good sort of later addition to their back catalogue, so well worth a listen.
Okay, good recommendation. And what about a film?
Well, we've already touched on this. I think because we've already looked at a lot of movies. I was going to just recommend Repo Man, just in case anyone hasn't seen it, because it's certainly one of my favourites from the year. Just such an odd movie, but really compelling. Emilio Estevez as the punk ne'er-do-well who's recruited as a car repo person, chasing after some kind of, I don't know if it's a Cadillac or what kind of car that has some kind of mysterious alien artifact that vaporizes people in the boot.
Wow.
What a film.
I've never seen this. Sounds great.
I think I didn't see it till about 10 years ago, and it was a revelation.
Yeah, I didn't see it until it turned up in the $1.99 DVD section in Asda on Smithtown Road. I thought, that looks interesting. And yeah, what a movie. What a movie. Great performances from Estevez and Harry Dean Stanton and Alex Cox directing. Mm-hmm. Great soundtrack with Black Flag and the Circle Jerks and Iggy Pop and the Plugs. Excellent stuff.
Yeah, it's a great film. What are your choices, Steve-O?
Well, I hasten to add, I didn't pick this for a fairly obvious reason why you might pick it, but I was thinking, well, the mid-'80s, heavy metal is starting to get into its stride again, I would say.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking, well, I'm pretty sure my favourite Metallica album would have been released around about then, and happily it was in 1984, and it is entitled Ride the Lightning.
Indeed.
I didn't even pick it because of that link to the book. So now see, I can take or leave a hell of a lot of Metallica, but that album is just bloody great, I think, from start to finish.
It's a corker.
And I don't think they ever quite scale those heights ever again.
Well, there's a lot of people who like Master of Puppets who might disagree, but no, we'll
Well, I think that's certainly up there, isn't it? Those two, and I think after that, no Cliff Burton anymore,
never quite the same again.
I heard something off Justice for All the other day, and it sounds like it's recorded in a biscuit tin. It's just
very trebly.
Awful, really awful. So Ride the Lightning.
Good
Then
pick.
films. I don't know. I mentioned Dune before. You see, quite like to tell people to watch, recommend people watch Dune, because it's just a slight. It's quite good and quite bad, and it's like a bit of a car crash of a film, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's just fairly mad from beginning to end. But I don't know. You mentioned Karate Kid, you see. I didn't even cotton on to that one. But I absolutely love, Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah.
And if it was 48 Hours as well, but that was a couple of years earlier. But I would have never watched that at the time. So I don't know what am I going to go for. I think I'll go for Beverly Hills Cop.
Okay.
Because I would have watched, when it came out, Karate Kid 2. I'm pretty sure about that. So I might recommend that when we get to whenever that is.
Okie doke. Right, well, that's good. Beverly Hills Cop, you could you side with the people that paid $234,760,478 in domestic gross.
See, I'm not saying it's a particularly amazing film, but it's just quintessentially 80s, isn't it?
Pretty much so,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okie doke. Well, my picks for the period, album-wise, obviously my thoughts drift straight to Beatles-related things, but I checked in with McCartney, and I knew what I was going to find.
Oh, what's he doing? Broadway.
It was a bit of a tricky period for McCartney. So he only has a couple of singles out in 1984, one of which is We All Stand Together, which I love to pieces, and No More Lonely Nights, which is also an amazing song.
Oh, it's so good.
But the problem is it comes from the Give My Regards to Broad Street album, which is a very peculiar thing.
I say that you've got your album and film sorted there.
Well, there we go. It would be a strange me that would pick that as a film and album. I haven't actually seen the film all the way through. I've tried to watch it in pieces on YouTube because it's quite hard to come by, and it's incomprehensible.
Has that got that Secretary song on it?
No, that's on McCartney too.
Oh, right.
So, yeah, basically this marks the point in the 80s where McCartney goes into a bit of a slump in the 80s because the next couple of bits he does aren't very good. And it's not until about 1989 and Flowers to the Dirt that he gets good again. Flowers to the Dirt, Flowers in the Dirt even. So my pick for 1984 music is Double Nickels on the Dime by the Minutemen.
Oh, terrific.
Which is one of the best punk albums ever made. It's quite hard to explain it in terms of punk, really, because it's more techie than that, I suppose, in terms of style. But it's such a great album.
It's definitely very, very much punk in spirit, but informed by, I guess, Captain Beefheart and the Magic Band and Gang of Four and various kind of funk things as well. There's a lot going on there, isn't there?
Yeah, and this is a double album, so there's all sorts of things in there. There's bits of spoken word and cover versions and all sorts, really. It's there's a lot to investigate on Double Nickels. So that's my album pick. And for my film pick, and I've deliberately left this open a bit like Steve-O because I've got a few there that I could quite happily pick. But I think I'll go for Gremlins because it's just one you can watch over and over again. And it's sort of become a Christmas film, even though it was released in summer. And it's a lot scarier and weirder than you often remember until you watch it again. And it's just fab. It's just an extraordinary bit of filmmaking.
I remember being quite scared of that. I remember my cousins who were a bit older than me. I remember them. You could get figures, couldn't you? And I remember being quite scared of the figures. I remember seeing them.
And also it's one of those things that's the figurehead of a load of little nasty monster movies that you can come to later, like Critters and Ghoulies and things like that. So but that's my pick anyway, is Gremlins. And before we finish off, I looked around then and realised I've got my Quincy the television series book with me. Ooh. Okay. Because we discussed on the last episode...
What's Klugman up to?
Well, we discussed on the last episode, I think it was, if not the one before, that Quincy ended in the time period we were talking about. But I couldn't remember what the last episode was. And so we made some glib joke about it.
Quincy gets fired. Was it called that?
Well, I think that's what the gag was. Or it was Quincy being cut up at the start of the episode. But I just wanted to say what the actual last episode was because it's called The Cutting Edge. And Quincy and Emily, his wife, become involved with a highly advanced medical project where a young worker's severed arm is reattached.
Oh, my God.
And the thing was, that was a backdoor pilot for a supposed spin-off that was going to be set in this new developmental hospital, research hospital thing.
What? What? And he was going to be in it?
Well, I don't think he was, but it was a bit of a way into it. They were introducing some characters, so Quincy doesn't do much in this last episode, really, other than turn up and say, Dr. McCracken, what have you done? And what I didn't realise, I'm looking at the name of people in the cast. Paul Rudd is in it. So I'm going to have to dig that out and watch it again.
Incredible.
So I just didn't want to. I didn't want to leave that Quincy thing hanging.
No, definitely.
People thinking I didn't have the information.
Wow.
But with that, I think we have rambled on long enough about the 1984 and the various things that we have actually seen. So first time round in some cases.
Am I right in thinking that we've got coming up 2 1985s?
Oh, we might have actually. That's a good point. I better check
So we
on
might
that.
be able to make some extra selections for the next year.
Double selection.
Yeah. Okay. Everyone prepare themselves for a 3-hour-long episode in which we reminisce about favourite toys from 1985.
We're going to reminisce about January to June 1985. Then we'll reminisce about July to December.
Yeah. This is now a nostalgia podcast for our childhood specifically.
It basically is.
That's where, that's where the money is anyway. Okay, so I'm going to say goodbye and I'll just go away before I start talking about toys, Transformers again. See you, everyone, and say goodbye, fellas.
Goodbye.
Fairly well.
Farewell.